If you could change just one thing about your life, your results or your confidence, your discipline, it wouldn't come from a massive overhaul. It would come from one habit you repeat daily because your life right now is not a reflection of your goals. It's a reflection of your habits, and until that clicks, you'll keep setting bigger goals with the games with the same systems that keep you stuck, expecting a different outcome without changing the inputs, and that's where most people go wrong. They chase motivation instead of structure, intensity instead of consistency, and then burn out when it doesn't last. But the people who actually transform their lives anchor everything to one non negotiable habit that forces progress, whether they feel like it or not. And here it is: do the hardest. Most important task of your day first, before anything else gets a say, before your phone, before your distraction, before your mood has time to negotiate it out of you, because the one habit rewires everything. It builds discipline, it creates the momentum, and it eliminates the biggest bottleneck in your life, which is avoidance. Because let's be honest, you already know what matters most in your day. You know the tasks that would actually move things forward, the ones that you keep pushing off, the ones that sit in the back of your mind creating pressure. And every time you delay it, you drain mental energy, you create stress, and you reinforce the habit of avoidance. But when you flip it, when you attack that task first, you remove the weight immediately, you build confidence instantly, and you start your day with proof that you followed through. And that proof matters more than motivation ever will, because confidence isn't something you think your way into. It's something you earn through action. And this habit forces the action daily. It doesn't rely on how you feel, it relies on what you do. And that's a shift from emotional decision making to intentional execution, because feelings are inconsistent. But systems can be automatic. And once you make this your default, everything else gets easier. Not because the work changes, but because you've already done the hardest part. And that's what creates the momentum. And the momentum is powerful. It reduces resistance, increases the focus, and makes the rest of your task feel lighter in comparison. But most people never experience that because they do the opposite. They start with easy tasks, they warm up with low impact work, and they scroll. They check things, they stay busy. And by the time they get to the important tasks, their energy is gone. Their focus is scattered, and and excuses are louder. So it gets pushed to tomorrow again and again, and that cycle keeps them stuck. Not because they lack ability, but because they lack order. And this one habit fixes that by forcing priority, by making sure the most important things always get done, no matter what, and over time. That compounds. Because even if everything else in your day falls apart, you still move forward. You still made the progress, and you still built momentum. And that consistency is what separates people who grow from people who plateau. It's not about perfect days, it's about protected priorities. And this habit protects the one thing that matters most. But here's the part that makes it work: you have to remove the option to skip it. It has to become automatic, not something you debate every morning. Because the moment you start negotiating, you lose. And your brain will always find a reason to delay the discomfort. So don't give it that chance. Decide ahead of time what your most important task is. Define it clearly and commit to starting it at a specific time, not when you feel ready, but when you're in the zone. But at a set time, because clarity eliminates the friction, and friction is what kills consistency. And when you do this enough, something shifts. You stop seeing hard tasks as something to avoid and start seeing them as something you handle. And that becomes part of your identity. The identity is the real driver of long term change, because once you see yourself as someone who executes first and thinks later, everything else aligns with that, and your standards rise. Your excuses, they lose power, and your output increases without needing more motivation. And that's how one habit scales into real change. Not overnight, but inevitably. Because you're stacking wins every single day. And those wins compound into confidence, discipline, and results. And here's the key: you don't need to do this perfectly, okay? You just need to do it consistently. Even if some days the task is smaller, even if some days your focus isn't that great. And what matters is that you still start, because starting is the hardest part. And once you begin, the momentum takes over more often than not. So lower the barrier to entry if you have to, but don't break the habit because consistency beats the intensity every time. And if you stick with this long enough, you'll notice something else. You'll feel less stressed. Not because you have less to do, but because you're no longer carrying the weight of avoidance. You're handling things when they matter, not when they become urgent. And that shift alone changes how you experience your entire day. So if you're looking for one habit that actually moves the needle, that this is it. It's not flashy, it's not complicating, but it's effective because it forces you to face what matters most, builds discipline through action, and creates momentum you can build on if you commit to it. I mean, really commit. You won't just change your days, you'll change your direction because the difference between where you are and where you want to be is built it's built in what you do first every single day.